Good morning, everyone. We are going to call the meeting to order at 9:39. We have a roll call, please.
Chair Cheryl Brown, Vice Chair Jimmy Paper, Commissioner Wilma Roberts, Commissioner Rebecca Weber, Commissioner Jan Winning.
Thank you. All right, it looks like we have 10 people that are signed in to speak to the board today. And we are going to go in the order that is recorded. The first person on the agenda is Mr. Mike Gerber from HATC. And each person has 3 minutes. Yeah. Morning, Mr. Gerber.
Morning, Madam Chairman. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for signing up to speak to the board today. You have 3 minutes to speak to the board.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Sorry to be coming with the background noise. I apologize. My name is Mike Gerber. I'm the CEO of the HATC in the city of Austin. Sorry I can't be with you in person, but I'm attending our leadership retreat in Atlanta, where we're focused on issues facing public housing and community development agencies. And of course, Patrick has been a huge contributor in our years. His presence is certainly best. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, we are.
I debated about whether or not to come on this morning, but I decided to jump on because it's the end of the year and the holidays. I felt it was an appropriate time really to say thanks for what your agency does and for partnering in so many ways with my agency, the Housing Authority of the City of Austin. You all have done tremendous work. I want to thank you for meeting so many needs of those in our county, and thank you for stepping up personally as commissioners needed to serve. Thank our commissioners enough. And I just want you to know that your work as commissioners is important and it's seen. Many of you are doing it. It's important to know that your work is felt in the community and it's seen. During this past challenging year and so many new faces on your board, I also wanted you to know that the work your agency has done over time has been really significant. You and your staff have an impressive record of accomplishment. You've done the full portfolio of conversions red for your 3 public housing properties. It really enabled the rehabilitation of each of those properties and a much better quality of life for your residents. This is a brutal process. And my agency struggled and continues to struggle with red. Your agency did it, and you've accomplished it, and you all should be proud. HATC is a big work agency for in those all parts of Patrick's strong leadership, which will partially free you from many of those miserable rules, and you all have to really keep in touch with your families. And this effort that you all undertook will pay huge dividends to your agency and to your families. For the first time, you all have a wide range of programs and services helping to connect your families to healthcare, training, and education programs, scholarships. That's really evolved tremendously in recent years. And the partnership with Big Austin is super exciting, and wish I had thought of it. And right now, frankly, we're all working together with HATC, to tackle the community's most pressing need, permanent supportive housing for the homeless. We've provided them with HATC is providing vouchers for operating subsidy, but the deals won't happen if HATC and Strategic fail to approve the bonds to actually build them. So you all are critical, vital partners. You got all these efforts and more. I just want to say your staff has been at the center of, and Patrick in particular, of just about every community discussion dealing with community development. It's so huge, in particular that Patrick serves as a member of the Planning Commission, of course. He's at the center of so many real estate deals in this community. And of course, being a leader of NARO, he and I have walked the halls of Congress together, and we've I've really valued his perspective on different policy discussions dealing with low-income people and addressing issues of persons facing poverty. I've been at HATC for 11 years, and I've walked almost every one of your properties. I've been your residents. I've been in your units, and your stability now, your consistency, and those skills have really paid big dividends. So in this holiday season, I just want to say thank you to you, thank you to your staff, and we look forward to doing more great things together in 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Gerber. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, to speak is Mr. Mickey Fox. Please come forward,
You can sit right here.
and, yeah, you're welcome to sit.
Where would you like?
Oh, there's a cord right here. Well, this is not a microphone. If you can just come sit over here.
All right, that's fine. I'm sorry.
And you have 3 minutes to speak.
Chairperson Brown, commissioners and guests. My name is Mickey Fox. I'm an attorney and I represent your CEO, Mr. Howard, in his individual capacity. Mr. Howard has asked that I speak to this board today concerning discussion item number 5 alpha, the CEO's annual performance evaluation, to highlight a few of the milestones that he's helped this board accomplish and to further the commissioner's goals as set previously with respect to the Housing Authority of Travis County, or HATC, in the creation and preservation of a sustainable system of affordable housing for and the empowerment of the members of the community that are most in need. To that end, I'd like to highlight a few of the most significant accomplishments that, with the guidance of the board, Mr. Howard has effectuated in the last year. Firstly, with respect to the last financial audit, there were no material findings. In short, your financial house is in order. This is largely the result of Mr. Howard's creation and implementation of internal financial controls. Those controls are important and they help the board better plan and better organize and better understand the finances of the authority. HATC is now a moving to work agency. Less than 5% of all housing authorities have reached this goal to date. That is an important milestone and one the board should be lauded for. Mr. Howard has decreased staff turnover. While that doesn't on its face seem like a big accomplishment, what it does do is it increases the institutional memory. That is, the people who work for the housing authority remember. They remember the client's needs, they remember the processes and procedures, and they're able to much more effectively do their job. But moreover, it decreases the amount that you have to spend in training new members. So without having to bring on new people, you don't have to spend the cost of training them and bringing them up to speed. Mr. Howard consummated the Big Austin Partnership Agreement. This really does help to empower the citizens that you, the board, represent, and helps those community members strengthen their financial foundations, providing them with a pathway to success. The board and Mr. Howard has led HATC to groundbreaking for a new 20-unit elderly living complex. This complex is going to help meet the needs of some of our most disadvantaged members of society and places them in a place where they can get their specific needs met in a more orderly, efficient, and more importantly, safe environment. Finally, and this is probably the biggest achievement that the Housing Authority has had, and it was done despite the elimination of the real estate development position. Mr. Howard coordinated and brokered 4 separate multi-housing or multi-unit housing development opportunities with the goal of creating over 1,000 housing units for the community. That's nearly a 700% increase in the number of housing units that this authority has to benefit its constituency. Importantly, 50% of the financing for those units is expected to utilize the Public Facilities Coordinated Corporation structure. That is also a big accomplishment, and it helps reduce the overall financial burden on the authority.
Thank you.
Quite plainly, Mr. Howard views his primary role as effectuating the stated goals of this board. And judging by this year's accomplishments, the board clearly had huge goals. Lately, Mr. Howard has come to understand that there may be some who were critical of his performance over the last year. In the spirit of true evaluation, Mr. Howard welcomes those criticisms in order that he might better effectuate the board's goals and the board's expectations of its CEO.
Mr. Fox, we really appreciate your time, but we want to give everybody the same amount of time, so thank you so much for your.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is Mr. Quincy Dunlap.
Good morning, Madam Chair, esteemed board members. My name is Quincy Dunlap. I serve in the capacity as President and CEO of the Austin Area Urban League and also a member of the Travis County Supportive Housing Collaborative. I'm here today to speak on behalf of what I think is the great work that the CEO or Executive Director, Mr. Howard, is doing. His vision allowed us to conceive units to come to bear in the market where we have a homeless population or a population that needs affordability and units simply don't exist. His guidance and thinking and knowledge of the space allowed us to conceive an idea that will bear at least 620 markets in less than 2 years, 620 units in less than 2 years. The skill set is impeccable, the integrity is impeccable, and the focus and vision for what has to happen to serve the people of Travis County is at the next level. I fully support his leadership and the work that he is doing and the work that the board is doing. I offer my partnership to him and the board continuously as the president and CEO of the Urban League. And as y'all know, the Urban League wasn't doing much before I got here. So I appreciate the relationship towards serving the people. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Next on the agenda, I may not do this last name justice, but it's Christine Januszkai. No worries. Okay, sorry.
Hello, thank you for giving me the space to speak. My name is Christine Januszkai. I'm going to read off my notes on my phone if that's okay. So I'm here to speak on behalf of the CEO's evaluation. I met Patrick while I was studying at the University of Texas. I was studying urban studies and sustainability. I was also working with FOSTA. My specific interest while I was studying, I was interested in community engagement and centering the lived experience of the community in urban development. So while I was working with FOSTA in 2021 was around the when Winter Storm Uri hit and we were working on Rosemont. I was a part of the walkthroughs that happened at Rosemont with Patrick, and whenever we got there, community members were already exhausted and of course missing their homes and wanting to go back home because it had been months since they had been home. I was an intern at the time, so I stood in the back and I listened to the community members. We all gave them the floor and space to voice their very legitimate concerns to Patrick. A major concern was had been that there was mold in the apartments, which was supposed to be cleaned, addressed, and tested, yet was not, as you know. As a human first and as a student studying community development second, I hope to see a leader within the field listen to the people he claims to work to support and exemplify what true understanding, compassion, and dedication to serving the people you are put in power to serve is supposed to look like. Unfortunately, that is not what happened. As I listened to these resilient women of color that have already experienced so much hardship explain to Patrick that they want to ensure that the apartments are actually fixed to a livable, to code, safe condition for their families to move back into, something I'm sure every single one of us in our would expect for our own families. I watched as Patrick responded to their very valid and real concerns with complete disregard. He talked circles around them, used jargon they did not understand, was rude in his demeanor, responded to their legitimate concerns over illegitimate testing done on the mold as if they didn't know what they were talking about, and turned the whole conversation on them by basically telling them that they are asking for more than what they deserve. After watching him abuse his power and belittle all of these women, I had to speak up for them. I couldn't believe what I was seeing and that this person was the CEO of a team, and I quote from the Housing Authority of Travis County website, dedicated to serving the community by providing safe and affordable housing options and committed to creating a welcoming and inclusive environment for all. I further went on to cover Winter Storm Uri and its impact on low-income housing in a podcast form for a school project where my team interviewed Patrick to get his perspective on the issue. When asked for his perspective on why the aftermath of the storm happened and the way that it did for Rosemont, his response was, and I quote, "Some of the housing in low-income areas may be substandard or at least not able to withstand the impacts of the winter storm because of the infrastructure it might be old. So I wouldn't say substandard, but not meeting a higher level of standard. So many of the residents for so many years have been marginalized. They don't take advantage of the opportunities around them, or maybe because they settled for less than what they deserve." End quote. That is what Patrick said. Essentially, Patrick acknowledged the systemic issues of the situation and proceeded to shift the blame on the residents as if they didn't have a meeting with him just weeks prior, asking Patrick for what they deserve, safe housing. The people in the communities you are serving know that Patrick isn't fit to serve this position. He has showed time and time again of his incompetence to hold this role. If Housing Authority of Travis County aim is to serve the community by providing safe and affordable housing options and is committed to creating a welcoming and inclusive environment for all, why do you have someone that has clearly shown that he is not committed to that mission as your CEO?
Ms. Christina, thank you.
Just one last sentence, sorry. The people you are dedicated to serving deserve better leadership than what you have given them.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I have that recording if you would like it.
Next on the agenda is Ms. Gabby Garcia.
Good morning. My name is Gabby Garcia. I'm an organizer with BASTA and I work with the neighbors at Rosemont Tenants Association. Today, HATC will be conducting a performance evaluation of Mr. Patrick Howard. Well, I'm sure many of you have already made up your mind about this evaluation. I want to be sure that some things are on the record. Under Patrick's watch, Rosemont was not properly maintained and repaired both before and after Winter Storm Uri, and he and the previous SHFC board members, including Mr. Wilmer Roberts, attempted to evict 87 families claiming that the homes were uninhabitable. After tenant and community pushback, it turned out that only half of these tenants had to relocate and the other half were told that the apartments were suddenly safe to live in. Mr. Howard bungled relocation efforts. Tenants were bounced around. Some families were moved over 6 times in an 8-month period. He did not ensure that construction crews were managed, which led to the loss of millions of dollars in shoddy work product. The fact that the apartments were never fixed correctly did not stop Mr. Howard from moving tenants back in. They were bullied into accepting apartments that were not ready, and they were gaslit about mold that was never removed. When tenants came forward with these issues, Patrick and his staff disrespected and dismissed them, and the tenants who stayed at Rosemont fared no better. They were forced to live in homes without drywall, ceilings, and floors for over 2 years. He failed to address simple code violations, which led to fines, which led to the suspension of the property's license to rent. And because of those violations, the bank was ready to foreclose, all of which could have been avoided. Even at the end, when they decided to sell Rosemont off, his staff did not bother to negotiate good terms, even when the buyer was willing. At every turn, Mr. Howard and his staff were intent on undermining tenant and community benefits. And somehow, despite his terrible track record, Mr. Howard has managed to keep his job. And last year, this board voted to give him a raise. I'm fairly certain that today history will repeat itself, since many of you are intent to protect Mr. Howard, even if it comes at tenants' expense. Rather than acknowledging what happened at Rosemont, you've chosen to wash your hands by severing ties with SHFC, who is actually working at reforming and improving itself. But the fact remains that Patrick was at the helm of both organizations when all of this transpired, and HATC may try to distance itself, but it is actually this board which holds the power to hold him accountable. And the fact that you do not do so speaks volumes. HATC has demonstrated that their priority focus is not to provide deep or affordable housing and to protect tenants, but to continue to operate as usual, putting the interests of their friends and developers over what's best for the community. And I know that he stacked the room today with all of these great evaluations, but you can't just ignore Rosemont because you have a wider profile. That list of things actually happened, and it's significant, and it's still affecting the lives of the tenants today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Mr. Nelson Linder.
Morning. I am Nelson Linder. I'm the president of the Austin WCP. We've been watching this process for quite some time now. We get outside feedback about what's occurring here. And we're very concerned. We're very concerned about what we think is the lack of due process. Also, some of these allegations, I mean, deserve a lot more scrutiny. That's kind of what we do. We know Mr. Howard's background, his history, his work in this community, and from what we gained thus far, it's not adding up. So we're here to say emphatically that we're looking at this process seriously. We're about 1 inch away from doing an investigation about what's really happening here, the allegations, who's the referees in this whole process. We're very, very concerned. We believe in due process. And I don't see this occurring even at this stage. And let me let you know as well, when people make allegations that are not substantiated fairly, you might want to be careful with that because you have a responsibility to make sure this stuff is indeed legitimate. What I see here, I see too much in this county and in this city. I see folks who don't like people for a certain reason. Oftentimes it's race, oftentimes it's success, oftentimes it's jealousy. So I want to state emphatically again that you might want to do a thorough process here and be fair with this gentleman. He's highly respected. We don't just do investigations until we know we have to. So I'm here today for a special reason. I put everything on hold. Watch this proceeding, watch your reactions, and examine what we know based on what you're getting from some of these comments. And let me say, I hope you do the right thing, give this gentleman fair treatment, due process, and make sure this is not attacking somebody's character for other reasons, because that covers a lot of territory, not just for him, but we have concerns anyway. But this case here is standing out on my radar and also the entire organization. Thank you for your time, the opportunity, and please do the right thing and be fair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Connor Kennett.
The board. I'm not here to speak to HATC or staff's performance as an asset manager. I think there's been some active discussion in y'all's boards about asset management versus some of the exercising the authorities and abilities that the authority has under statute. So I want to specifically speak to those, and I have a letter here that I'll be sending the signed version to you from the CEOs of LifeWorks of Austin, Austin Area Urban League, and Family Elder Care of Austin, which speak to the PFC's deals that we're doing. I can also tell you that I was in a meeting 2 days ago with the head of the housing authority from another major metropolitan area, and it boggled their mind what we were doing with PFCs, and it did not seem like something that they were even willing to consider. So in terms of innovation and willingness to be open to really maximizing the utility of these authorities, I think that speaks a lot what we've been doing. But so for this letter, we are writing today in regard to the performance of your CEO, Patrick Howard. Mr. Howard has been instrumental in one of the most innovative models of deeply affordable housing in the history of Travis County. The Travis County Facilities Corporation has approved and is approaching the closing of 3 PFC agreements that will make possible 260 units of new permanent supportive housing for the people in Travis County experiencing homelessness. These agreements use groundbreaking implementation of the state's PFC statute to allow a for-profit developer and a nonprofit supportive housing organization to share the affordability requirements in a mixed income project. This arrangement includes the donation of over $10 million in land for nonprofits, as well as an estimated $1 million in annual payments to defray the cost of providing supportive services for people at these projects. Mr. Howard has at every step of this process been generous and supportive to our organizations in ensuring that we are set up for success in providing supportive housing for decades to come and permanently securing our sites for nonprofit affordable housing. We commend Mr. Howard for his Herculean efforts to make these projects a reality and wish to convey to his respective boards that we could not have asked for a better partner. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Stacy Ron.
I did send a letter to the board, and I apologize. And so I just wanted to reiterate, the importance. Hold on, sorry, that'll help me come on screen. I did send a letter to the board in reference to the relationship that Big Austin and HATC have forged. This would not have been possible without Patrick Howard. Patrick reached out to Big Austin intentionally and said, let's look at ways that we can change the lives of residents at the Housing Authority, which we have over the last 4 to 6 months really started working on, and we are seeing great progress and great opportunity. As we look towards next year and our plans for next year, I believe that, you know, not only in our relationship with HATC, but also in one of the affordable housing projects that's taking place, we'll be establishing some centers there that the PFC has basically partnered with us on the Daffin Lane project. And so there are just a number of exciting things that are moving forward. I know that there's always challenges and not everyone is always happy in the beginning, but it does take time for change. And we believe in our relationship that change is happening and it's taking place, and we look forward to continuing to move in this forward. And all the momentum that we're having. You know, Patrick is on us pretty hard every day to find out where we're going and what we're doing. We look forward to that, and we want to maintain that relationship because as a lifelong Austinite, 4th generation, I see the change. I'm hearing about HATC more than I've ever heard before, and we're doing more than people actually really know. And Patrick's been very humble about that. So we're here to continue to support our relationship. We see change on the way, and we want to continue to work together. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Next, we have Miss Stacy. I think it's cool. I'm sorry, Stephanie. Stephanie Poole.
Douglas.
It's-
Yeah.
Stephanie. Douglas. Oh, that's. Miss Stephanie Douglas, please.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I just wanted to jump on real quick and say that I second everything that Stacy mentioned. I have worked closely, and I can just say that Patrick has always been very committed to the residents of the Housing Authority, and very hands-on on what we're doing, and wants updates weekly as to what we're doing and how we're progressing. And so I just wanted to second what was said with Stacy. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Douglas. Next, we have Ms. Keisha Price. Prince.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Keisha Prince, and I am a former resident of Rosemont. And I experienced everything that the people that have spoke out against Patrick has experienced it. My life has been changed forever. It'll never be the same, and no amount of money, no amount of sorry can help. It is very nice for all you people who speak very highly of him and you've had great experiences with him. That's very nice. I hear you speak about his brilliance and everything that he do, but I have a problem with him not bringing any of it to Rosemont. We didn't see brilliance. We saw pure incompetence. We saw someone that was deeply uncaring. And for him to say that people are talking badly of him because he's Black. Everybody in Rosemont was Black, brown, and immigrant. People of color. And we weren't treated very nice. Nothing was handled very nice. And after you made a full mess of Rosemont, then you decided, oh, we don't need it. Let's just sell it. And you sold it to awful people. Left residents with little choices because the new owner knew it was going into foreclosure. So they said, well, we don't have to give the tenants what they want. It's going to be in foreclosure. So we have a win-win. So last year you got a raise. A raise for what? I don't see what you did that was so great. And it's great that you could do everything great for HATC, but what about everybody else? You can't erase Rosemont. I don't care how many good things you say about him, you can't erase it. And I've experienced personal things done to me by him. So, to be fair, you need to listen to everybody. And if brilliance is like it is with him, you would see it across the board. You can't explain away Rosemont. You can't fix it. He did that. And nothing you can say can wash it away. That's going to be with him forever. And me as well. And as long as I have breath to speak and I have a platform, I'm going to speak about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else present who wishes to speak to the board today? Okay, if not, we're gonna move on to item 3 on the agenda. And that is to approve the meeting minutes from the October 17th special meeting. Is there a motion to approve the special?
On the October 17th, that was a special meeting that I had advanced plans and couldn't attend. So I really appreciate staff. Debbie, you were helpful with that, getting me copies of the recording and then also the notes, the minutes. But having not been there, I just have a point of confusion. If there's a way somebody could help me understand, it could be a lack of training on my part. So let me just start with that. I didn't understand the discussion and the motion to establish a quorum when there were 2 people virtually and 2 people present physically. Does that constitute a quorum, and can somebody educate me on that?
Yeah, I can't find the minutes in the board packet. They're in the board packet. I'm on Portable. Right. I'm in the documents. You have to download the documents and then scroll down. So the minutes are
I have
in the board report.
Yes. I have it printed.
Okay, so there you go. Yeah, there I am. And the way that, Patrick, you want to address the definition of quorum when you use.
Yeah, we spoke to HUD regarding the issue of having the submitted document. They told us that we could move forward. We just needed to ratify that at a later date, which we need to do on the agenda. So the submission of the plan had to happen. I think it was one of the board members had a sick child, so we were not able to constitute a quorum that day. So we do have to go back and ratify that, what was approved, which was Christina was which plan was it? That we approved in the special meeting. Was it the MTW supplement?
Wow.
That is correct. So we do have to go back and ratify that.
That's the annual plan.
Correct.
Right.
That's correct.
So just to be clear, is a quorum, let me just try, could you say a statement of clarity around what constitutes a quorum in
Right
this?
now, it's hybrid environment, that there has to be physical presence of a quorum, in this case, 3 individuals. So we could not
without that-
constitute an official meeting, but however, but understood that we had 3, that they had concurrence. And they said we needed to go back and ratify that at a meeting, which we should have probably brought it back to that.
So my question is super technical. I'm just trying to get clear. I'm a newer board member. I've only been on the board a year. Does that mean the whole meeting does not constitute a meeting at this point.
It was an
It's the
unofficial
public
meeting, that's
record.
correct.
I'm sorry. What-
It was an unofficial meeting of the board. That's
So
correct.
all the things discussed there, what happens to them? Because it
Again, they
wasn't
need to be
just,
ratified. It was something that was required.
not just the HUD, but there were other items.
No, there wasn't.
I looked at the recordings there.
Debbie, pull the agenda back up for this.
So just if
From
we
the
could speak
17th?
to it as a point of clarity, whether or not in this case you recall that there were other items that speakers spoke. and
No, we'll look it up. We'll have to just we'll pull up this.
Go on, finish.
Can you
Let's
minimize
let her
that?
finish the
Like,
thing.
where'd it go?
If there were other items that we asked.
They were discussed and consensus was brought around an item around empowering the chair to be able to address the ILA with the chair of SHFC. And there were other items discussed. I just want to be clear what happens to the whole body of work when a quorum was called, but there wasn't a quorum.
Well, there wasn't, it was a consensus, so it
Right.
wasn't a vote.
Right, I said.
Right, so there was a consensus of the people that were in attendance that I could represent the board if there was a need for us to do that. Right,
I might not have it.
and so that there was no vote taken, and you can't have a consensus if
I
the
know
people,
we're still-
if there's no vote that's necessary,
Yeah.
then.
No, I get the vote issue. Karen. Thank you for that clarification. My question is, what happens to the body of work when we call a quorum and there wasn't one? Is there any? You want
It
to
has
just,
to be ratified.
okay, so we're gonna ratify.
Yeah, that's what I said in the beginning.
We're gonna
We needed-
ratify your discussion as well.
But the minutes.
That is
Minutes
correct.
report
As I said, as I.
there being a quorum.
Yeah, they called a quorum.
It says, item 1, call to order, roll call, confirmation of quorum.
Okay, that's probably incorrect. That's incorrect.
So what do we do with the? Yeah, just
You
want to
can- you
understand.
can,
how-
all we have to, we can table the minutes and then we will bring it back to you in January to ratify what took place. So the minutes
And
are
you called
incomplete.
the quorum, as I recall in the minutes, you said we have a quorum.
I may have, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to get clear on this. Yeah.
And so I would like us to take action to not pass these minutes. These minutes are incorrect.
As I just said, my suggestion is to use
To
table the minutes because they're not.
Yeah, I'm not agreeing that that's what's appropriate. We are not approving.
I am making a motion that we as a board say these minutes are incorrect. That's what I'm saying. Does anyone second my motion?
I'll second that motion.
Because this is not okay.
The motion, so you would
So-
motion to approve the minutes and then the motion would just fail. Essentially, so.
I'm making a motion that we as a board
They can
Right,
take,
this is-
in action right now and say we have presented with minutes that were incorrect. That is what I am saying.
So,
That's the same as
yeah,
not
let me
passing.
just,
That's
let
fine.
the
Yeah, that's the
motion-
same as not passing.
Okay, wait a second. Okay, there was a request to make a motion to approve the minutes. You can deny that if you choose to. So the motion on the floor is to approve the minutes for the special meeting.
Yes.
Is there a vote
you can,
to approve the minutes?
Well, it's a consent agenda, so perhaps a point of order is, I do not agree that this can be on the
You can say
consent
no.
agenda. So,
You can say no.
Okay.
When I asked the question, is there a motion to approve the minutes for the special meeting? If there's no motion.
You
Then
can
we
table-
move on to the next.
you can
item.
table it
Okay.
until,
We will table it for the next meeting.
well, I have a pending motion that we take action right now. Because this is not okay. This says on page 2, all resolutions pass. That's not okay.
So what is your pending motion?
That we, in this moment, take a vote that we were presented with incorrect minutes. I want to make a record of this. This is not okay.
What is your motion?
That I would like us to take a vote that we were presented with incorrect minutes.
The motion on the floor is to take a vote, so Is there someone who seconds the motion? Jan second the motion, all in favor?
Jimmy, what was your?
I'm fine, I'm aye,
Fine with me.
with saying that minutes are incorrect.
Okay,
That's fine.
3 votes.
Okay.
That's fine.
This is unacceptable.
Yeah.
We cannot have a minutes trying to be passed on a consent agenda in December from an October meeting that's trying to sneak in a confirmation of a quorum. Like, there's just like foundational, fundamental problems with that. And
Okay, yes, so I think we have the vote, right? And we will, let's go back again and make sure that everyone, that you have a record of who is in favor of that motion.
Who all is in favor?
I abstain as well.
You abstained and you abstained?
I do. Right. So moving on to the next item on the agenda is to approve the meeting minutes for the November 2nd regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes for November 2nd?
absolutely not. I would like to move that we remove this from the consent agenda.
There's a vote, there's a motion on the floor. I'm asking a vote before any amendment to what was provided. Is there a motion on the floor? There's a motion on the floor to approve the meeting minutes for the November 2nd meeting. Is there a second?
We'll move to approve the.
Second.
That's what I asked. My question is,
The chair can't move to.
The chair doesn't move.
I'll move to it, I'll move.
is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I would like, can we have discussion?
Sure.
Okay, so. I can't trust that what's in this is accurate. So. We can no longer have minutes just put on a consent agenda without some checking of them. Like, this is insane. So.
So typically what happens is the meeting minutes go out for us to read and review it, and then we bring it back. So we are not going to be reviewing meeting minutes at a board meeting. You have time to review them. They're sent out 7 days ahead, and you have time to review the meeting minutes. So if you have any issues with the meeting minutes, then they are to be brought forward during this meeting. So is there any further discussion?
Yes, my discussion is that I don't trust this document now, and there seems to be a serious problem with making a record of our minutes. And I would move that whoever is on the committee, where are the committees? What committee would be appropriate to address this?
Probably governance.
Okay, who is on the governance committee?
Good question.
I think this, Michelle and.
And y'all abstained from voting why? On the incorrect minutes, why?
Because we don't,
Do you have a conflict?
I don't have a conflict, but I abstain because that is my choice to abstain. I don't have to vote.
There's no reason to justify.
Well,
it.
if you're abstaining, then it
It
would
says
be
it goes
weird
with
to
it.
then take ownership of the governance committee on this issue. So perhaps the governance committee is not the right place to address this, but y'all, we can't be up here as appointees and public servants and allowing false minutes to be given to the feds. No. This is a real problem.
I have no problem with the November 2nd meeting minutes. I have no problem with that. And if that is the discussion that you have on the floor, that is your opinion. We are all in a position to vote the way that we choose to. So the question on the floor, you asked for an amendment, and your amendment was that we not accept the November 2nd meeting minutes. And so is there a motion to accept the?
No discussion.
There's an amendment to what was motioned. And so the amendment is to not accept the November 2nd meeting minutes.
I heard some discussion.
Sure.
I wonder if we could consider convening the governance committee around this issue and reporting back to this body about both minutes on the consent agenda on this meeting's agenda, and also about the broader issues raised by my colleague about how it came to be, just to explore and investigate how that process broke down. Could we ask and direct the governance committee to examine all that and to report back?
Sure, we can do that. Right, but we still have a motion on the floor.
I haven't heard anyone make a motion.
You did, you just made a motion. Your motion was that we modify the past motion, which is to not accept the November 2nd meeting minutes. That was the motion that's on the floor to now. It was amended. And so the question is, with that amendment,
I don't agree that I have made a motion with regards to the November 2nd. I'm saying they can't be on a consent. That's all I'm saying.
okay, so then the motion on the floor stands. Is there?
What is the motion?
The mo-
Stated.
The motion was to accept the
November 2nd meeting.
And who made that motion?
I think it was Wilmer. Yeah, you second.
Who seconded it?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor of accepting the November 2nd meeting minutes? Aye. All those, are there any abstentions? Those who oppose? That motion passes. Okay, moving on to item 4 on the agenda, and this is resolution number HATC 2023.
In regards to my request for the governance committee meeting,
Yes,
can we do something on the record about that?
yes, we did.
How would you like to do that? Just have it in the note.
It's in the notes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna take that as
I
action.
appreciate that.
Okay. So item 4, resolution number HATC 2023-12 to approve the stability voucher program policy.
Yes, so we'll have Christina Montez provide an overview.
Sure. So I'm not sure if you all had the time to read my quick little general synopsis. There's a lot of documentation that was presented, including the PIC notice that is a HUD document, and then all the policy that involved with that. So,
Sorry, Christina, I'm only to go over that. So.
oh, yes.
Let's get out of that one and go back into. Is that it?
So while he's going, looking for that, so as you know, we've been talking about the stability voucher program for some time. We got those 5 vouchers effective 11/1. However, before the 11/1 implementation date of those 5 vouchers, there was a lot of community involvement, a lot of conversations with the community agencies to determine how we were going to best utilize these vouchers between us and HACA. HACA got 43, 44, I can't remember, and then we got 5. So as a community, we came together, decided who our support agencies were going to be, and we established these stability voucher policies. So these policies are specifically from the PIC notice. So if you read the PIC notice, you'll know that my policy mirrors that as well. So what I'm going to generalize, give you information right now is about the stuff that we did as a housing authority that we adopted based on what HUD is allowing us to adopt and what we can or can't adopt, what we have to do, what we don't, what we can choose to do. So as you know, the stability vouchers were for the homeless. We're not going to go into that, but you know that. We established a memorandum of understanding with our ECHO agency, which was a requirement. We are only accepting referrals through coordinated entries. That is also a requirement, not an option. This is where the options come in. The ability to deny assistance for an applicant. HUD gives us the permission to adopt further reasons to deny someone for admission. We have chosen to not adopt any more other than what HUD has asked us to deny for, which is the production of methamphetamines, sexual offense, and of course, if they don't sign all the documents. they don't get admitted into the program. But we have opted to do a low barrier or no barrier into the program. We are also adopting self-certification of income, citizenship, social security, and date of birth. So with the Housing Choice Voucher Program, we have to collect third-party verification documents. We are opting to do self-certification, again, easy entry into the program, of course, collecting those documents later as they get into the program. We're also opting to include these five stability vouchers into our income targeting requirements for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. As you know, 75% of our admitted clients need to be from an extremely low income, so the 30%, and we are including these into our income targeting requirements. We are choosing to do pre-inspections of units. So if a landlord comes in, apartment complex landlord has a lot of units available, we can do pre-inspections of those units and have them ready and available for the tenant to choose, should they choose. I believe it's a 60-day limit that we can have that. Payment standards, we're opting to go ahead and go up to the 120% standard, just like HUD suggested, not a requirement, but I mean, this is a requirement actually. We are opting at 120%. Initial search term, this is not a requirement, an option, 120 days, or it's a requirement, I'm sorry, it's a requirement, 120 days on the voucher to allow them to find units within a sufficient amount of time. And then the other option that we're doing is we're allowing them to have shorter lease terms should they decide to have a shorter lease term. So we went all low barrier, went with what HUD suggested, and that's our policy. Any questions?
So my question was, when I read this, it said that there were 5
That's that.
vouchers that we have.
Yeah.
And so one of the questions that I had when I read through this, it said that we were going to be partnering with
Integral care. For support services. So our coordinated entry process is, we have an MOU with, and that's a requirement with our local COC, which is ECHO, but our support services are going to come from Integral Care. So part of the community involvement that we did, I think we started in July with HACA, maybe July. Part of our community involvement, we also asked for what's it called? RFPs, proposals. I couldn't think of what it's called. We also asked for proposals from the community to let us know what their level of capacity for support services was. And we felt, since we already had a relationship with Integral Care through our continuum of care, they had the staff ready to go. We went ahead and partnered with them for those 5.
Yeah, first I just want to applaud you and for the full embrace of the spirit of this regulatory change and the notion of low barrier as somebody who's dedicated so many years to homelessness issues here in this.
The best way to go.
This is the only way to go. And I love the way you language it. I love the parallel process. And even though we're tiny compared to HACA, the 5 versus 44, this is a real contribution.
Yes.
And I want to just check on the timelines here. If you could help me understand so I know what to expect in the way of news on this. So because it was last year, right? And then in April that they were first announced, and then in August, and then.
Right, so we got the announcement, we applied for it last year, we got the announcement, and our requirement was to work with the community agencies. We did that all the way in through September, when we decided, and both us and HACA decided to implement 11.1. What that means is, as of 11.1, we can go ahead and start issuing those vouchers. However, we have no policy, so we can't issue those vouchers until you all adopt this policy. So per our MOU, to answer your question, we are giving as a community until the end of February to house 95% of the 5 vouchers. 95% was usually.
So you'll be reporting back and letting us know.
Victoria is the one handling the stability voucher program, so it all depends on a process flow, right? It's not as easy as black and white. So we have to get the referrals fresh from ECHO. We have to admit them. She has to issue the vouchers, and then they have to go out and look in the community. So it all depends on a lot of factors.
That's an ambitious timeline, but keep us posted. I'm just really a huge endorsement for this whole move.
Yeah, I think next week you will be issuing the vouchers.
Next week I'll be issuing the vouchers.
Next week I'll be issuing the vouchers. I believe they already have 5 results to go. Yeah, we're just waiting.
Yeah, I invite you to come tell us how it's going.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Any other discussion on this one?
No motion approved.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, on to item B on the agenda. And this is resolution number HATC 2023-13, and this is to approve the fiscal year 2024 annual budget for the Housing Authority of Travis County.
Chairman, given the advice that we got from Mr. Blunt and Mr. Plummer about potential conflicts of interest when HATC takes action that can affect strategic housing finance or vice versa, I am keeping from this action item, so I'm gonna go sit in the audience and watch as just a member of the.
And I also took to heart the commentaries of our council, both Mr. Plummer and Mr. Blunt, and to use their language out of an abundance of caution, and in order to remove even the appearance of impropriety, I want our processes to be impeccable, and I want to make sure that we're beyond reproach. So I similarly am going to recuse myself as a management appointment until we get other clarification, which hopefully will come someday. So I'll be sitting there and listening to you all as well. Thanks.
Anyone else? All right,
Okay, so we'll have, you all did get, had the opportunity to do a work session, which I hope was helpful. So what we'll try to do is brief by exception. We'll pull up the packet and start with the summary page that highlights generally those items, and so we'll be doing it. So just give us a second here, we'll be pulling that
I
up.
approve this.
and just for the record, with both Mrs. Weber and Mrs. Winnick leaving the dais, you still maintain quorum with council.
I think it's like, that's the second page. Okay, good. Okay.
So good morning. So what is presented here is the fiscal year 2024 budget for HATC. And it is pretty much the same as what was presented at the board session or what was discussed at the board session. There was no recommendation for any changes. So there really isn't any changes to what was presented, what was discussed at the work session. What is included here is in order to have a balanced budget, we are transferring 1.4 million from TCFC to HATC to ensure we have a balanced budget. To cover some of the deficits in some of the properties and also to cover the overhead of HATC. And TCFC is also contributing $128,000 to the foundation to cover, the resident services contract with BIG and some additional expenses that's related to the foundation. It includes a 4% COLA for staff and for the first 3 months, there is to strategic for a couple of employees, and also some expenses will be paid by strategic, like the office rent and some equipment that's being shared with strategic. But beginning April 1, all of that will be covered by HATC, and all of that is already built into the budget, to the HATC budget. There's no contribution from strategic, obviously. So other than that, I will just leave it open to y'all.
Yeah, forgive my ignorance on this, but is COLA mandatory annually?
No.
No. Okay.
Is there any discussion? Is there a motion to approve the fiscal year annual budget? that HATC resolution number, HATC 2023-13.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. All right, moving on to item 5, discussion item, and that is, item 5A is the CEO annual performance evaluation. I want to extend a question to Mr. Howard. Mr. Howard, you have the option to conduct your annual performance evaluation publicly or in executive session. What is your pleasure?
I'd like to do it publicly, and I've prepared a statement,
Okay, sure.
and my attorney will be bringing that away.
Thank you. Do you want to?
Sorry, what?
And I have an attorney, I've asked that he deliver that statement on my behalf.
Okay.
Point of clarification, if we have questions about your statement, do we address your attorney or do you?
You have us both.
Okay.
Right.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
Building on what I had previously expressed to the board, would like to add just a few more things. We do understand that there's some criticism, and criticism is an important part of anyone's growth with respect to their job performance and their ability to meet the needs of the board. As I stated previously, Mr. Howard's sole job is to effectuate the goals of the board as the board determines. In that determination over time, those goals change. The concerns change, community needs change. And Mr. Howard welcomes those criticisms in order that he might flex into the CEO that the board needs. He does ask that as the board considers the appraisal of his performance as CEO, that the board focuses only on his duties and responsibilities with respect to HATC. There are a bunch of other duties that relate to other entities, but HATC here is really evaluating his performance with respect to this entity. He also hopes to open a constructive dialogue. Plainly, I think as we've seen, there are some concerns. And in order to address those concerns and to grow, Mr. Howard welcomes the expression of those concerns in this form. I think it would be beneficial to the public to hear what those concerns are. He wants to hear those concerns in order that he can formulate a plan of action to address those in a way that's satisfactory to not just the board members, but to the community as a whole. Ultimately, the tenants, the members of the community who most depend on HATC services are the ones who need to hear that Mr. Howard is working to address their concerns and their feelings. Effective listening and solid dialogue are the hallmarks of problem solving. These two things ensure that as goals and expectations may change, the organization will grow in a way that best effectuates those changes so that it better meets the needs of the community. The true stakeholder, the people who need services. That's what this is all about. And with that, I ask that the commission please provide me with any feedback that they feel will help Mr. Howard rectify and correct any of those insufficiencies or shortcomings that the board feels that he has demonstrated. And any of those concerns that might adversely affect his evaluation, he would like to hear in order that he go forward and fix them. I mean, ultimately, that's the goal, to make him a more effective CEO, to address the concerns of the community at large, but also the board's concerns. Because at the end of the day, his job is to make what you, the board, determine as goals. His job is to make those happen. And with that, if there are any questions for Mr. Howard or myself, we would appreciate it if you would address them.
Okay, thank you. So with that, the HR committee met and reviewed all of the input received for Mr. Howard's evaluation. And the HR committee consists of both me and Mr. Paver, pulling the information together, and Mr. Paver will present the information to Mr. Howard.
I think the HR committee was composed differently previously. At what date did
It was.
It was, and I asked to be stepping back and allow someone else
I
to
understand.
serve. So
And
that's
so it was shifted. I don't have the exact date, but it was before November 9th, before we received the information from everyone. I want to say maybe a week before, but I'll give you the exact notice.
Okay, so that's.
Yes.
Yes.
it was before.
It was
the
before
email-
input.
Email went out to everybody that, when I expected that.
Okay,
I,
go ahead, sorry.
So prior to, I don't know who to address because the committee
Yeah.
has changed. So anybody who's ever served on the HR committee can answer this question as a colleague. We've heard commentary from the public and it really resonates with me about the need for due process. And for us to have impeccable process and objectivity in our process. So one of the things I was hoping to hear over the course of the whole year, and I'd love to see it in the coming year, is updates from the HR committee as we approach an evaluation process. Will there be a survey of employees for feedback? Last year there was, this year there wasn't. I can't tell which is the process. What about polling stakeholders in the community? And when are those responses considered? We got a flurry of them in the last 3 days. Luckily, I came back from travel in time to read some of them, but not all of them. Would those come in sooner? So just some process.
We're not here to discuss the process of what the future process is going to be. Today, at this point in time, we're here to discuss this evaluation process itself.
I am talking about this evaluation process being unpredictable in my mind and difficult to track. So I had some difficulty with the process. I'm just speaking to that.
Okay, so the question was there, I understood the question to be, would the process be different next year and could we have more frequent input? That's.
So yeah, I'm just a problem solver by nature. So if there's been a shortfall here, I would just love to see it
Sure.
better next year. That's all I want to say.
Okay. All right.
Okay, good morning. I'd like to thank the chair for all of her efforts in pulling this evaluation together. I was asked to provide our findings to the full board this morning. As chair and co-chair, we have strived to put forth an equitable recommendation based on the feedback that we received. As you can see, for those of you who have it, we have tabulated the scores based on the input of all 5 commissioners. In accordance with years past, we have weighted these scores 70% for HATC and 30% for SHFC. So what I'd like to do is just go through this initial document. I apologize for the small font. It's the only way I could get it to fit. And just sort of coming up to the aggregate. This is a 500-point scale. Some of these are weighted more heavily than others, but in response, and you can see it, the commissioners here from evaluator 1 through 5. And so in the first category of leadership.
Let me interject one thing. we elected to label the input as evaluators 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, because we did not have permission to identify names, but if there is a need and if someone wants us to identify who each of the evaluators are, we are open to doing so. Okay.
Why is there the black one?
I don't know.
Because there was a separation between HATC, because initially we thought we were gonna be giving HATC and SHFC, so it was just a divider to divide input from the SHFC commissioner versus the HATC commissioners. That's all that is. It's just a divider. But the input that was received was already tallied, and so we did not fill in those columns. That is why the bars.
We just received the number.
Okay.
Okay, so in the first category, out of a possible score of 125, the total was 62.5 from all 5 commissioners. This is in leadership and governance. Human resources and management on a scale of 75, you received a 38. Fiscal accountability, you received a higher score of 77.5 out of 100. And then in the category of strategic planning and sustainability, you received a score of 25.5 out of 50. Partnerships and community building, public outreach and awareness, 40 out of 75. And then in the last category, asset management, you received a 48.5 out of 75. So you can see the totals down here at the bottom of a possible 500-point scale. Mr. Howard got 297.5. And just for the purposes of this evaluation, we put that percentage at a rounded 3.00%. And then we received just the aggregate percentage from SHFC at 2.50. What I'd like to do as we sort of digest that is go through more.
Let's see if there are any questions. Any questions that are related to our comments that are related to the actual evaluations that were received from the board members of HATC.
If I may have a few more moments to continue reviewing. Thank you.
Well, these are just the numbers. We won't go through the written evaluations.
I understand, Madam Chair. I'm trying to look at the numbers as they relate to the commentary provided to make sure that they're congruent.
Yeah, we will read through the input as well. We plan to read it verbatim so that everyone can hear what was written and what was received, right, from the board members and those that were not members.
I understand. With respect to the numbers,
Okay.
it's hard for me to really analyze what those numbers might mean without reading the statements that are provided in addition to. So I can't evaluate the numbers in a blind. So I'm asking just for a few moments, if I might, just to review the commentary, then to be able to make statements or questions.
We'll allow 5 minutes.
Thank you. 3 minutes is probably fine.
3 minutes.
Is this a public document that will be attached to meetings?
Yes, yes. I'm sorry to clarify on that.
And the different letters and
Yeah, all of them will go in.
statements will all be like one final packet.
Yes.
I have a question on the attachment of the statements, which came from the related after the evaluation was completed. How does that, I mean,
It's
as
just
a board
information
member,
here.
as a board member, it's difficult to see that in the entirety of a packet that I didn't see before I had a chance to.
It was not the input that we received from someone outside of the board was not considered in this evaluation.
Oh, I thought it was throwing in the pan. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's input that we received that we want to share. So it's just as the public has spoken and you've heard their input, these are also public citizens that are providing comments, supportive comments.
I know who they came from and I met some of them today and I invited, is the timing of it. And having attached an evaluation when it's ex post facto. I just thought it should be noted.
Oh, it would be
Yeah.
provided as letters that were sent to the board.
And on that same point, somehow people got my private email address and sent them to my private email. I thought HR was clear that we were using SHFC addresses. So now the public seems to have my private email address and that's a little disturbing to me. Another process issue, just not happy about that. I don't know how they got them and who gave them.
I don't know how they got my part of the email too, but.
Do we know who solicited these comments?
I've been getting
For the letters.
for years, but it's always fine.
Do we know who solicited these letters from the public who came in after the evaluation was completed? Did Mr. Fox solicit them?
No, ma'am.
Did Mr. Howard solicit them?
Perhaps,
Is that a yes, no?
it's correct.
I think what he's trying to say is that he may have solicited some of them, but not all the comments. I mean, the comments here today were on.
So how did they get my private email address? Did you give it to them?
Some cases, yes.
I want that on the record that that's an error.
Okay.
We will immediately do something to correct that.
Thank you.
And our apologies.
It's been like I said,
The
a bit of a
commissioners, so I'm not
surprising process here and not.
not sure if you're aware, but the commissioners board has published in their agenda. They have a packet that has the material with everyone's information in it. Travis County Commission for it. That information is public.
I thought we were in the process of improving that process with our SHFC addresses. That's what I was assured by, but
Information for applicants for boards.
I can table it for now.
It's possible.
It was a bit unsettling.
So I'm a little confused about, so there were, line items that referred to, Mr. Howard's performance as viewed by the community and stakeholders. But I'm just so confused. It's like, so attached to this packet is, Pflugerville City Council placed to Mr. Cesar Ruiz,
Yeah.
Commissioner.
Is his, it was not considered.
Not considered.
It was not considered in the evaluation. It's only information that we received just as community members came forward to speak today. We consider, we are bringing these letters forward because we received them. But the board members, myself, whether it was all five or whether it was a few of us that received the letter, I am for the sake of being transparent, any letters that I received, right, that was either addressed to the board or addressed to me directly, I am bringing them forward so that I will share them with the board. So when we did the evaluation, we had not received these letters, so they are not considered as a part of the evaluation. I think that your input stands on its own because you had not received input from the board, and so does ours.
If I might add,
So,
was it just your intention to enter that into the record?
Yes.
Okay, so that's not really a part of the package.
it is, yes, it is just.
So it doesn't go to, partnerships and community building.
No, these were received after our input. Now, the question is, you did not see this, it's after we provided input. Our due date for providing input for Mr. Howard's evaluation was on the 9th, right? And so we got the information that we received. I solicited input, additional written comments from board members to give further explanation as to why they rated him the way that they rated him. And so those are the ones, the things that we're including is the input that we received from those members who wish to elaborate more. And outside of that, we received additional letters even today. 7 a.m. this morning, we received another letter from someone else. And just for sharing that with everyone, we wanted to make sure that we did not keep anything to ourselves, that we are transparent in sharing all of the information that's received. Okay.
In
So-
general, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. In general, I think, we're a bit confused because the statements attached seem to laud, your CEO and provide almost no criticism. If that's the case, then we're a little confused by the numbers themselves. You would think, we would invite my client and myself.
Okay. So the reason, what you have here is you have input from 3 of the board members that reflect our input. But there are 5 members on board, right? So that is what you have. And so it was optional if they chose, if others decided to just provide the numeric input, that it was their choice. They could do that.
Yeah, I understand.
There is actually an amendment to that. I did want to give additional input, and you and I tried twice to connect, and at one point I was available, and at one point we weren't available, so. It wasn't a great process. And I had no time. I was out of town to do it.
Well, we understand. There's nothing is perfect in this world, and I truly understand the difficulties of working on a board. I've served on a few. We appreciate the commentary that was added to the package. That's very helpful. We were kind of hoping that if there were criticisms, if there were reasons to mark the grades down in any way, that those criticisms would be in there as well. But like I said, the idea is to try to foster some dialogue and understand what the criticisms might be so that we can fix those and go forward and try to.
There's no reason those can't be expressed verbally.
Okay, very well.
I don't see anything that can drive it.
Yeah, should we start at leadership and governance?
Sure, right.
The first one is challenges and drives the organization and self to excel and achieve as evidenced through the development, implementation, management, and oversight of policy, practices, and procedures that produce high quality outcomes. I marked that one does not meet expectations. There were too many instances over my tenure, which is, I've really only been on this board since June, where the outcome was not high quality. So I marked that does not meet expectations.
Could I ask you for some examples so that we have something to reference so that we can go back and try to figure out how to.
Yes, I would just, as I've learned how the meetings go, I've honestly just been astonished at learning that our units that we're building have serious problems with them. So that's just one example. With regards to ADA.
I'm sorry, which units are you referring to? So we can make sure to check into those to find out what's not standard or so what is
Mr. Howard, seriously, you know which units have gotten dinged?
They were attached last month.
We've been given pictures of stairwells and railings and problems with doorbells. And I mean, are you seriously asking me that?
Yes, I am. I'm trying to foster a dialogue here to make sure that we understand what you're referring to. We can.
Okay, I am referring specifically to pictures that I have been presented as a board member of units that are not safe and are not livable. That's what I'm referring to.
In 2022, 2023. Are you referencing the document from the TDHCA from last year? Because there was no findings this year. We can speak to Mr.
Are you referring,
Guzman.
I think, let me
You're-
try. I think you're referring to the stairwells that we just did at Maynard, in Maynardtown, is that correct?
I'm sorry, I have never even been allowed or invited to view these properties. I thought it was very interesting, but I think Mr. Dunlap, someone said they have been to all of our properties. I have never even, despite asking, been given a tour of one of them. So excuse me if I can't like keep them all straight in my head. I've only been on this board for about 6 months. And you know, I like, this is not appropriate. That I, the newest board member, would be like called to the carpet.
Well, you
This
gave
is
an
not appropriate.
You gave an evaluation and he's asking your input as to justify, not justify, but so that if you're looking to, for him to.
Okay, let me put it this way.
What is it?
No,
that
let me
you
put
are
it to
referring
y'all. Let me put it to y'all. Demi, Cheryl, Wilmer, what did he do in 2022 that produced high quality outcomes?
2023.
So I will read my input because I think that there were a number of things that he's done. But the question on the table is, right now, I think the question is to address, he's asking your question. And if you want me to read my evaluation of what I
don't
think,
think we need to go through
if
that.
what you think, wait a second, if what you.
I didn't get this until like 2 minutes ago.
Right,
Well,
that's what I'm
Mr.
saying. I
Lunkett
could
didn't
share.
get it until 2 minutes ago. But he read it and gone through it.
So the only point in all of this.
What? So now I'm supposed to be an employment lawyer?
No, the point that is being made is if you gave a low evaluation, the question on the table is, can you provide input of what was unsatisfactory so that improvements can be made going forward? I think that's a valid question.
And I have given you the example of
Okay.
us
then
being
move on to the
presented of, all right. Then do you wanna?
You can finish.
Okay.
Give me an idea of where we are in time.
I'm not, okay, on the second one, I'm not aware that we
I'm
have
sorry,
a
I
high
just
CMAX score.
I want a time check on where we are in our board meeting and allocated time.
1:06.
And when are we supposed to, when is the next meeting?
11 o'clock.
It's already due to start.
Yes.
If I might, we're happy to accept any feedback by writing or otherwise that the board wants to put together. Again, the idea is let's fix whatever
Okay.
problems there are
Okay,
and
so
try to rectify.
I'm not aware that we have a high CMAX score. So that is why I marked the second
CMAP
line.
has
of-
nothing to do with our programming.
Then
Okay,
why is
so
it
just,
on this?
May I comment on?
Why
that?
is it part of his evaluation?
Not only that, but from this dais on 3 occasions, I asked the HR committee to remove that score and to come up with a better score so that we were not in the position of entering on the record a score in relationship to a scale and an inspection process
This
that
is
we're
a
no longer
farce.
subject to. This is an error in the document that puts me in a really bad position. And I flagged this in May, June, July. I'm really,
Moving on.
I don't
Foster the
see
culture
progress.
of teamwork and collaboration. Well, I think that Mr. Fox, you've seen enough this morning to understand why I marked that.
I'm
That's not
sure
the
I understand.
expectation.
If you could just-
Maintains effective communication with board members. Y'all, I have asked and have never even seen one of these properties.
Sorry. Weber, are you saying that you requested of me to have a tour of Mr. Guzman, who's the director of affordable housing, and you've been denied the opportunity?
I've asked from this dais numerous times.
Have you
I've
asked
been
me,
writing and got no reply.
Ms. Winning, you asked to visit the properties and I
Yes.
vehemently denied you the ability
No,
to
no,
visit. the
no
properties.
reply. No reply.
You want to go visit the properties?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's
I-
do it.
we
Let's
spoke
do
of
it.
this.
So how about
Yes.
tomorrow?
I-
You have time tomorrow?
No, I don't.
No,
That's
Well, we
the
will work
problem.
with your schedule.
Law practice. No, I'm not.
We will work with your schedule to schedule a meeting and to
That's an
meet.
example right there.
Example of what, Ms.
That's not an appropriate way to relate to the boards of the class. It's to fling it in the air. How about tomorrow morning?
It's funny,
Especially when it's-
you contacted myself, my staff, on a number of occasions about many things. And if you all are inclined to want to have a meeting to discuss things, we are more than willing to do that. And I'm sort of sure that I think you talked to Mr. Pugler on a number of occasions about things and even applauded his responsiveness. So I think if there is anything that you would like to do that you say, are you suggesting there's, you would desire to do so, I'm committed to doing
For
it.
example, just to cut to the chase. I think about 7 weeks ago, we were given the opportunity on a Tuesday to tour a property on a Wednesday.
Yes. I immediately said, I'll be there. No one responded to me.
I got no response and I
Did the
said,
tour happen?
it's really too short a notice. Could you get back to me with more notice? Crickets.
I actually wanted to come and was gonna
If
change
I
my
may.
schedule to come.
If I may, can we
Yeah,
put this
so
in writing?
are there any other questions that you have?
I think,
Well, wait, I've only gone through my,
I
I've
think,
only gone through 5 of my does not meet expectations. I marked other ones.
Sure.
So what do we want to do at that time as a matter?
There's a way we can encapsulate this.
What do we?
I would be more than happy to accept from the board members. Or if the chair wants to organize a critique packet or something like that, and that way, if there are, for instance, tours or things like that need to be set up, we can do that in a orderly fashion where it would meet the board's expectations, if that's acceptable to the board.
I mean, I've been asked to defend my evaluation.
No, ma'am. I asked, I didn't ask that anybody defend their evaluations. I merely asked that if there were criticisms, that we would receive those
That's what I
criticisms.
understood the question to be, that
Right.
if there was criticisms or where the areas where your evaluation, if you had areas of improvement that you wanted to share with Mr. Patrick, he asked to provide that level of information.
Okay, let me just put it this way. I have been a board member for 6 months. I have been on other boards. I'm a lawyer. I am very experienced doing board work. I have been astonished at the dysfunction in this organization, the toxicity, in the leadership's interactions with stakeholders. Your unprofessionalism, sir, in speaking about stakeholders, and you know, and I'm not even getting into Rosemont. And Rosemont, you know, it matters. And I'm not even talking about Rosemont. So, that's what I'll say, in the interest of time. I think that the commissioners court is also, you know, they are stakeholders and they also are not happy. And, you know, as the newest board member, I think it's bizarre that I'm thinking now about it.
Well, as the second newest board member, I share some of the same concerns. And I also want to say to Mr. Fox and to Patrick, first of all, it's super awkward to speak to an intermediary, and I would love to understand why you don't feel like you can interact directly with the board, and maybe that's where we start. We start with how do we rebuild that trust? How do we rebuild some kind of communication style where we can actually interact and grow mutually and reciprocally. But if we're going to flush out more areas of deficiency, I would like to start with a document penned by you, Mr. Howard, on what you self-perceive as deficits and areas of growth opportunity, and whether you'd be open to a performance improvement plan and or, you know, some kind of consultation on executive management of these bodies in the coming year. That would be where I would want to start. And that's all we have time for, I think, at this time. I just want to say that. Yeah, well.
Okay, so everybody has and will be entered into the record the written evaluation from the 3 commissioners that participated in that. And based on these figures and a very honest attempt at trying to quantify this data, The HR committee is gonna recommend a 4% COLA increase. And a 3.5% pay increase for a total of 7.5 for Mr. Howard.
Powerful motion that we, approve the recommendation.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? I'm opposed. Yep, and no abstentions. So that motion passes.
With that, Ms. Brown, we would love to thank you guys very much. Sorry, thank you board very much for its time and attention. And we do welcome those criticisms and anything that will help foster the trust level, foster the dialogue. The purpose today for my being here was to attempt to bring down the key to the dialogue. And I apologize if I wasn't able to bring it down to a level that was much more easily doable today. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 5 on the discussion items. This is future meetings with Travis County Commission report.
Yes, ma'am, as requested, we have, I believe nailed down the dates, it's, January 11th, it's a Thursday, their work sessions are at 1:30. As you're all aware, the, primary focus is to, share with the commissioners board, our position related to where we are relative to workforce housing and the ability to also use that platform to subsidize DP affordable units. And so that is tentatively scheduled for January the 11th.
You have a time?
The session start at 1:30. They haven't published the agenda yet, but let's just assume that 1:30 should be the time we arrive, or certainly there before that.
Okay, great. When you get that information, you can share it so we know exactly what's on the agenda. Thank you. Item number 6 on the agenda for the second time, I just want to ask if we have any pressing information that you would like, that any of the is that you're responsible for would like to share. Committee reports, I think the only one that we have today is the one that we've just gone through. Anything from the real estate committee?
No.
Okay, so new and unfinished business, anything that you'd like to discuss here?
I think we put on governance committee, some of the business.
Yeah.
For the review of the 17 minute and decision process.
Need for an executive session. So I don't have.
Madam Chair, I just want to raise the issue of the annual elections are in January, slated for January 4th. If you all feel comfortable with keeping it on the 4th, and of course you take holiday vacation. We certainly can recommend rebates, although the meeting of the commissioners board is scheduled for January 11th. But I figured I would just at least ask. As far as staff goes, there's certainly enough time for us to respond as we would for the election, but I just figured I would ask. Someone that it did come up.
And I had asked a question about what are the committees, because I've been referred to the bylaws and I couldn't find them in the bylaws. So if I could just a request from staff or my colleagues who are more experienced than me, where do I look up what the committees are? Because I couldn't find the document that was.
Yeah, so the bylaws that there are, I think, 4 standing committees. It says
It's not
that
in the bylaws, Mr. Howard. I'm looking at my bylaws. I brought them with me and they're not in, it's not in there unless you've got an updated version from the notebook that was issued as an orientation to my position.
I will check on that.
If you could send that to me, that's all I'm asking
Sure,
for.
but it does say that the chair at any time could create committees.
Of course, I just want to,
Yeah, just the ones that we've identified.
yeah,
Yes.
that would be awesome. That would be very helpful. Thank you.
got a notebook when you started?
I did. I'll try to.
I never got anything like that.
Yeah, we tried to schedule a meeting with you.
I met with you for 3 hours, sir.
Yes.
You did not give me a number.
That's no, because we like the
So
same
let's,
paper.
let's just address that and make sure
Yes.
that she has all of the information that we received.
Well, in all due respect, our goal was we created Portable, we had the platform that we created. So our goal was to try to create folders with information as opposed to
We didn't have water.
paper. So that is the reason why we're using it in the packet, because we do have a folder on Portable that is an orientation. And that's why we stopped producing those items, because most people use electronic media to manage.
So let's just close the loop, Mr. Howard, and just provide a hard copy.
Okay,
All right, thank you. Is there a reason for an executive session? No. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right. The meeting is adjourned.